a lot of stuff to get through. But we could head straight to the flagship store and get to
Yeah.
the Raw recap. And I think we could start off with easily what was the most highlight what was the highlight of the show. The big thing is that Jey Uso finally, in your words, is the main event and is IC champion.
Yep.
Surprisingly, beating Bron Breaker for the championship on Monday Night Raw. And we both have that as the top shelf. So I'm gonna let you. What's up, activists? How you doing? Glad to see you here early with us as well. Yeah, Moody, I'm gonna let you start off and give me your thoughts on Jey Uso beating Braun Breaker and winning the title.
I mean, yeah, like you already teed it up perfectly, but it was just a surprise more than anything because, like, we know that Braun's in his prime. Not to say that Jay isn't, but it's like, all right, we
Yeah,
just built up the badass dog. We got any dogs in the house and shit, and it's like, so this was the reason that you watch weekly television when you know it's going to be like a mid-ish kind of week because you
yeah,
could just have something like this. And it's like, oh, okay, you turn on. I didn't expect for this to happen. Like, I
yeah,
just mean as far as like on the schedule. I'm thinking Braun's at least going to hold it till like, I don't know when Survivor Series is, but I'm just pushing it out there for it to have his first reign. So, not to say that I was giving Jay no chance, but effectively none. Like, you know
yeah.
what I mean? He's still, but I guess it is interesting because this would be his second. This was his second title defense specifically against Jay, or his second title shot, right?
Jay's title
Yeah,
shot, or are you saying
yeah.
Braun Breaker's title defense?
Jay's title shot. This is the second one he's had because he attempted against
Oh,
Gunther, and
did he face Gunther?
I feel like he did. He was
He
already on
probably
Raw at
did.
that point.
He probably did, but he also fought Roman.
Okay. Yeah, that was my point. I'm glad you even bring up Roman because I was gonna say, well, this is the weakest IC champion he's gone up against. So or weakest competition, I guess, in like a big moment spot. Like if you're comparing Gunther and Roman specifically, so I appreciate you bringing him in. But yeah, caught me off guard. It's definitely top shelf. It's the best in ring thing to happen this week for sure. It
Yeah,
carries
definitely.
it's the highlight of the week.
I think I think it was shocking because again, I think the natural instinct is that Braun Breaker is the young guy. You want to put him over, having him having the belt, it looks good on him and everything like that. Uh again, you think you're gonna hold it. I think we had the conversation last week, like when we were predicting who's gonna be holding the belts up until main event, right?
Hmm.
In December. And I think we had Braun Breaker holding that title. Maybe we did say those IC and US titles could possibly change at a certain point, but I feel like I would have to go back, but I feel like we said that they would probably feel like they could probably hold those titles up into going into the show. I think we gave more of the US title of a chance losing it. But what I like about this is first, just from a show perspective, this almost feels like, to your point, I think you kind of made this point when you went on gave your thoughts. This feels like old school promise of what Raw was. And it was like
Hmm.
it could happen.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's not obviously Jey Uso's not the 1, 2, 3 kid, but it's the fact that like, yo, usually this ends in shenanigans. Something
Exactly. Yeah, that's what we would be expecting. Yeah.
thing happens where this match ends in shenanigans and we got to get this back at maybe Bad Blood or some other kind of event. Um, but nah, they pulled the trigger. And so for that, that's dope. That really feels that like, hey, yeah, anything can happen on Monday Night Raw. Instead of just being the cookie cutter, we're just getting through storylines. It's like, nah, hey, a title change could happen. You know what I'm saying? And this kind of gets into the, outside of wrestling aspect where it's like, I forget this happened with someone else most recently as well, but um the reaction to Jay winning the championship, not only within the stadium, but also just, outside on social media and stuff and whatnot, is just through the roof. Like this is a genuine moment of just appreciation for this person who's been in this business since pretty much he was a kid. You know what I'm saying? Like there's episodes back in like the Attitude Era where like him and his brother were probably like behind the scenes in like clips. You know what I'm saying? Like so to be tag team champions, all that, be in the bloodline to finally win your individual championship and be at that spot in WWE and living up to that main event title name that you have. Props to Jey Uso, man. Hard work, man. And we talk about it all the time. Like, what does it mean to be in your 40s? And doesn't necessarily mean it's over for you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that you plateaued in some cases. So it's great to see on that. I have one more thought, but I'll let you go.
Oh no, I was just gonna make the parallel. It reminds me like this feels like a surprise Kofi Mania. That's what it is. Because like Kofi Mania was obviously Kofi just stepping in for somebody who wasn't available, and like us still not expecting for him to get the title. But we've been on the journey with him. We remember the push that he had up against Randy Orton, and then like he got shoved back down to the mid card forever. And the reverse side of it, like we weren't expecting for Jey to win, but he definitely had enough grind and work in this character of main event Jey Uso. Like ever since the split off of Bloodline, it's like we were on the ride with him also. And that's why it's so like, seeing him tear up and stuff in the crowd, that was great. Like that was my favorite part of the whole thing. But yeah, go ahead. That was the last thing I wanted to say.
Oh, I mean, well, I'll add to a point because you compared it to Kofi Mania. I think Kofi Mania is a little bit higher just because, that obviously leads into like WrestleMania. My equivalent, I'm not disagreeing. That's just, I'm not even disagreeing with your point. I was just more of relationship to it. I think I would compare it to Mick Foley, Mankind winning the title on Monday Night Raw back in like '99. Those were different circumstances, I think, because at the time, Mankind's character was kind of McMahon's like lackey, and he was always trying to impress him. And McMahon was just like, "You'll never be a champion" and whatnot. And so finally that night, that's when Stone Cold kind of comes in and hits The Rock with the chair, and EX comes out 1, 2, 3, and that's also the night WCW lost because Eric Bischoff was like. Or not Eric Bischoff, but Tony Schiavone was spoiled the match results because Raw was pre-taped that night. But the reaction in that, because everybody was happy for a storyline aspect that, yes, the championship is away from the corporation and, this is happening. But everybody was happy for Mick Foley.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, okay, Mankind won the title. Nah, this is Mick Foley. On that call, JR is Mrs. Foley's baby boys did it. So, like, we are happy for Mick Foley that night, not Mankind in a sense. So, that's where I would kind of compare it. And then my last thing that I want to end this is I was going to name the title of the episode of this, but you remember, Martin is my favorite show. So, the line that comes to me is when Martin proposes to Gina for the first time. But it's like not with the way that Gina wants him to propose. Is he's like, "Damn, Gina, you win. All right, I will marry you. Are you happy?" Just replace that with Rikishi.
Yeah.
Damn, Rikishi, you win. Jey will win the title. Are you happy now? Can you stop complaining?
Yeah.
I believe you, but I'm just like, I think Rikishi's complaining comes from storyline. I do think there's some personal father thing, but like he has to know. Even on he wrote a congratulation post saying like quote adding Rhea Ripley saying hey mommy, time to party. So what is going on? What's going on, Keish?
Well, we know he's paying attention. Whether or not he knew it would be coming up, I'm sure that they're still prone to like off the cuff type of things that they probably showed up that night and it's like, hey, Jay's going over tonight. You know what I'm saying?
They told the family that Roman was going over Brock until Seth came into the ring.
Yeah.
And the NY family was tight. But let's move on to our next thing.